and welcome to the Hobby Shop. Today I'll be hosting Don, and I'm here with,
Philip.
sadly,
And we're down 2 men.
yeah, it's tend to happen, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Some people sleep in.
Some people just don't have a ride. That's life. Shit happens, and you just gotta do.
And there's people who won't set an alarm clock.
Yeah, that too. Or, at least just stay up late.
Yeah.
But today's topic is going to be comedy. That's right, people. It's going to be all about it. There's not going to be a certain kind, just whatever comes to mind.
Except
So-
scary movie.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't need to give that any credibility, and it's something that needs to be buried and
He needs to
forgotten.
die in fire.
Yeah. So, alright now, let's start off with, I wouldn't really say what we first coming into comedy, but I want to say, like, what is something that we've really come to enjoy? What was our first comedy we truly kept going back to? What made us love this kind of humor?
Mine would be Ghostbusters. I come back to Ghostbusters like 4 times a year. To me, it's one of the funniest movies I've ever watched. It's endlessly quotable. Just I can't really describe what it is. It's just something about those three guys: Dean Aykroyd, Howard Ramis, and Bill Murray. And thinking back, preparing for this episode, I've realized that a lot of my favorite comedies has either Dan Aykroyd in it, Bill Murray, or Howard Ramis directing or writing, or starring in.
So, would you say that is it the character humor then? Is it the actor humor, or
I
the
think
writers?
it's a combination. Keep in mind, these three guys are, they wrote most of the movie.
Mhm.
So, a lot of it was just them playing off each other. So, a lot of those the characters, Ray, Peter, and Bateman, I think that's his name.
Hmm?
No, Egon.
Okay. Yeah.
Ray, Peter, and Egon, those characters worked together so much because those guys had real chemistry between them. And I even like I can't ever remember the guy's name, but Winston. He was a great straight man to kind of bounce off these kind of nut jobs. And each one kind of had their own character. Like, well, Egon, he was the genius, but he didn't know how to explain it to people who are not as smart as he is. So while most people have no idea what he's saying, then you have Dean Aykroyd's character. He's just so enthusiastic. Like, he's also like Egon, where he'll spat off all this techno jargon, and it's just he has like this childlike enthusiasm, and it's just really funny to watch that play off of Bill Murray's character, because he's very dry, very cynical, and I really didn't understand what made him funny when I was a kid. Later on, I realized that he's like the ultimate dick. He is like the ultimate asshole.
Well, the thing is, people usually tend to really love the asshole characters.
Yeah, and he does that perfectly. He's great at being that narcissistic egomaniac.
And I always find it so strange, people find an attraction to these characters, but if they ever met them in real life,
They would be a douchebag.
yeah, you wouldn't like them, but you're loving them in the movie. Like, oh, this is such an awesome character. It's like, if you were hanging out with this character, do you really think it would be that?
Them.
Yeah,
But I guess it's one asshole to another asshole.
yeah.
So maybe that's why I like Bill Murray so much. But the writing was so well done in this. It's basically all character comedy. There is those just funny lines in there, but a lot of the funniest lines come from which characters are saying them. It's not because they're just funny lines; it's because of the character. like the whole joke about in the beginning, you know, the three guys they're about to try to catch the ghost in the library, and you know Ray's like, get her. Then at the end of the movie, I guess as payback, Bill Murray's character tells Dean Aykroyd's character, he's like, go get her, Ray. It's just, it's just, I think those two were like probably my favorite part of the movie was just those two playing off each other. Of course, you have Rick Moranis. Rick Moranis is almost funny, and yeah, he's funny in pretty much anything he's in, from Spaceballs to Honey I Shrunk the Kids to Little Shop of Horrors. I haven't really seen a movie where he wasn't funny. I think his best character he ever played was probably, I can't remember the name of the character, but his character from Spaceballs, I think, was probably the funniest character he ever played.
I'm trying to think.
It was basically, he was the shrimpy Darth Vader.
Yeah, did he have a name?
He had a name. I just can't recall the name.
It's been a good while since I've seen it, so yeah, I would know the name.
What was funny about that was just the idea that this guy, this shrimpy little guy, has the same amount of power and fear as Darth Vader does.
Nice.
It's just hilarious to think that. I love those incompetent villains that somehow have power. I love those kind of characters. Like, my favorite episodes of South Park are the ones where Cartman gets all the power. I think those are some of the most hilarious characters. It's just these horrible people who are completely incompetent, who can't handle any situation. Basically, I love like characters that are like children in adult bodies.
So basically, just man children if they had power.
Yeah, like the Queen from Alice in Wonderland, the Disney version.
Okay.
I just love those kind of characters. I think they're hilarious. But staring back to Ghostbusters, honestly, I can't pin down one thing that makes the movie so funny. It's just some combination of the actors, the writing, the directors, the direction, and just a lot of subtle humor in there. Like if you really watch it and try to catch every joke, there's ones you would miss like the first 10 times you saw the movie. There's still stuff. I'm sure that if I watch the movie again, I'm going to notice more jokes and more little those little nuggets that you might find if you look hard enough. That's about it.
All right. For me, I mean, I'm not a movie goer, so you know, I don't have really stuff to go to for movies. So, like, the first thing that I know, like, I keep continuously going back to stand-up comedian George Carlin. And I mean, I always I don't know what keeps bringing me back, but it's either the fact that you're gonna agree, I mean, to an extent. I mean, he you know, there's parts where he's like pretty extreme, and you're like, okay,
yeah, dial it back a little bit.
I don't agree with that, but I like what you said at first. You were making a good argument there.
Yeah, I'm very limited on George Carlin because I just started to really watch his stuff. But the stuff I always watch is like his stuff from like the 70s and early 80s, where it was more about just the weird quirks of the world before he got really delving into religion and politics.
Yeah, all the
like
political stuff where it was just crazy stuff.
But I think he's one of the funniest he was one of the funniest political comedians.
Yeah, and I mean, political humor is not fucking easy. And,
No,
you know, he makes it, like, for everyone.
There's, the three who I think are the best, well, obviously George Carlin.
Yeah.
Two others would be Louis Black and Stephen Colbert.
Oh, yeah, definitely, like, you know, I think it's just like Stephen Colbert also because they both make it enjoyable.
Yeah.
You don't really have to completely.
I guess I would have to throw in
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart. I would have to
Yeah.
throw him in there too.
Yeah. But yeah, they make political humor at a point to where it's blunt, but it's blunt enough to where if you're not into it, you understand what they're talking about, and you're gonna laugh. You know, I'm not really big into politics and stuff like that, and I still find myself laughing about what they usually tend to say.
I did kind of. There's certain things that happens in our country that I'm really interested to see what Stephen Colbert does with it, because if you really pay attention to a lot of politics, there is some stuff that is just prime for comedy, like the whole government shutdown.
Yeah,
It's
the big Republicans being big giant kids going, wah, we didn't get our
It was
way.
basically they were basically a bunch of children fighting over a ball.
Yeah.
But Stephen Colbert, I think I watched this show weekly while that was happening, just because it was some of the funniest things I saw him do. And I've been a long-term fan. I recently got into Stephen Colbert about 2 years ago. So I missed out on a lot of his great stuff. One of my favorite old clips is actually one he did around Christmas time. One of my favorite clips of Stephen from the Colbert Report is when he invites the Krampus on the show. The Krampus is this like holiday demon or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's German. The myth apparently was Saint Nicholas would go door to door and giving gifts to all the good children, but all the bad children would get a visit from the Krampus, who would basically beat them with a stick and throw them in a bag and carry them to hell.
I think my favorite skit was I think it was about probably a year ago what he did on was it Martin Luther King Day or was it Black Independence Day? It's when he did that really racist cartoon and
Yeah.
he was really debating like I shouldn't do this, but I am gonna do it, and you know he's gonna do it, and it's just
Well,
the
the
timing
thing-
of that though.
what makes it funny though is it's clearly offensive,
It's
but he doesn't
so-
care.
Yeah, like it's one of those things that's so offensive. You're laughing at it, knowing that it's not that offensive. Like
Yeah,
it's a joke.
it's a joke, but it fits the character. It fits the character of Stephen Colbert because
Yeah.
he's supposed to be this like egomaniacal, this right winged lunatic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really put it in anything other words.
I think that pretty much sums it up.
I mean, he plays that like crazy Republican so well. Although I don't know, is he actually a Republican?
No. I want to say no. I don't know. I don't know
It-
what his,
it doesn't matter,
where he
but-
politically stands.
It doesn't matter, but I don't know when. It's like he always knows what to say when something happens. If something silly in the world happens, he knows perfectly how to make fun of it. If something horrible happens in the world, he knows how to make fun of it.
Yeah, and speaking of stuff like that, there's a lot of people who always question is, should we really laugh at stuff like that?
It depends on the joke, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the audience, who you're targeting, and I guess it really depends on timing and how you say it.
Yeah. There's one way you can do it where you just you just say fuck it and try to go as offensive as possible, and that will get a laugh out of some people. But you can also really deter other people.
Yeah, it's drawing the line of knowing where to stop.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I think that's what made George Carlin so great is he really knew how to blur that line and widen the line.
Yeah.
He just knew how to put things to make it to where it's like you might not agree, but it's still funny.
Yeah, it's funny, and I mean, I get a little sensitive to some of the topics he says, but I still laugh. I'm not gonna be like the people on YouTube like, oh my fucking god, fuck this fucking hippie in the fucking ass with a giant ass spiked dildo. No.
Oh my god.
No,
I wonder how many emails he actually got like that.
Oh god, there was like, I remember seeing a fucking YouTube video. I was like, really? A fucking church person was celebrating for the fact that he passed away. He's like, he's burning in hell. And I was like, oh my god, really? Are you that fucking obsessed over a comedian?
Well, then there's a lot. Then I think there's two extremes. There's the people who are way too easily offended, and then there's the people who kind of let stuff go, or not go, but let stuff fly just because they like the comedian. Whenever I think of like an offensive comedian that's not funny, I think of Cat Williams. I think of God, that guy from UFC. He did Fear Factor. He was the host of Fear Factor.
I know who you're talking about. I'm running blank. Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. There we go.
They're two extremes because they both told equally offensive joke that it was like, wow, there's a joke, but they sound way too angry for it to be a joke.
Like they make it sound like they mean it. Like, I guess, like my sister said about Carlos Mencia. You know, she says like, you understand he's joking, but it sounds like he's serious.
Yeah.
Like he believes in what he says.
Now, with Joe Rogan, his whole thing was, he basically said if you believe in God, you might as well kill yourself. And now Cat Williams basically said the same thing about atheists, or not atheists, people who believe in evolution. And it's just like, okay, there's a joke, and then there's this you getting on your soapbox.
Yeah, it's where you sound like a pretentious jerk. But then again, this goes back to George Carlin again. You know, there's a lot of people who say he's a pretentious jerk, and I'm like, no, it sounds like he makes it, I guess, it's like a weird line, and it's hard to explain. But he makes it sound like it's a joke. Like you can't take him seriously. Like if you were talking to him face to face, you know, he would joke about it, and you know, he says he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care, and
It is time.
Okay.
We'll be right back.